Nord's ring vibrated against his finger, sending familiar tingles of caution through his hand as he entered the dimly lit briefing chamber of the Stellar Security Corps headquarters. The holographic display flickered to life, revealing Commander Voss's stern expression. "I'll be direct," Voss said, his cybernetic eye working as it focused. "This contract is unusual. 20 million credits for a simple protection detail." Nord raised an eyebrow. "Nothing simple at that price." "The client is Luna Caldwell." The name sent an unexpected jolt through Nord's system. Caldwell, the same surname as that peculiar family from his youth. His hand instinctively touched the ring, their gift, along with the adaptive armor he wore beneath his casual clothing. "She's arriving at Centaur Spaceport in 3 hours," Voss continued. He leaned forward, his expression serious. "She has a particular effect on people, some sort of biological field that induces euphoria and loss of control. You'll need these." He slid a case across the table. Inside lay a set of neural dampeners. Nord left them in the case. His ring would provide all the protection he required. The spaceport's private landing bay gleamed with polished chrome and soft blue lighting. Nord positioned himself near the entrance, his armor shifting subtly beneath his clothes, adjusting to his heightened alertness. His ship that landed was sleek, painted in deep purples and silvers. As the boarding ramp descended, Nord's ring began to pulse more intensely than he had ever felt before. And then he saw her. Luna Caldwell emerged like a vision from another realm. Her skin was a mesmerizing shade of blue that seemed to shimmer in the spaceport's lights. She moved with natural grace, despite the massive shadow-forged restraints on her wrists. Legendary artifacts said to weigh as much as a small shuttle each. Her figure was perfectly proportioned, but it was her face that captivated him. High cheekbones, full lips curved in a knowing smile, and eyes that held ancient wisdom behind their playful gleam. "You're the one they sent to guard me," she said, her voice carrying a musical quality that made his spine tingle. She approached him with deliberate steps. "Touch me, I dare you. Think you can handle these magnificent curves?" His ring blazed with possibilities. "Step back. 43% chance of successful mission. Maintain distance. 67% chance. Accept her challenge. 89% chance." Nord moved forward smoothly, one arm encircling her waist. The contact sent electricity through his body, but he kept his expression neutral. "I handle whatever the job requires, Lady Caldwell." Her eyes widened in surprise, then sparkled with delight. "Oh, I like you. Most men either run or drool by now." She didn't pull away from his touch. "Call me Luna, and you are Nord. Just Nord. It's enough." She laughed, a sound like crystal chimes. "A man of mystery. Perfect." Her expression suddenly turned serious. "Though I should warn you, I'm not usually this restrained." She lifted her wrist slightly, the movement requiring visible effort. "Let's just say I've had better days." "What happened?" Nord asked, finally releasing her waist, though his skin seemed to remember the contact. "Politics. Betrayal. The usual drama that comes with being a galactic noble." She waved it off with forced casualness. "Nothing I can't handle once I recover my strength." As they walked toward the private transport, Nord's ring continued its warning pulses. Luna seemed to find every excuse to brush against him, to lean close when speaking, to touch his arm for emphasis. "You're different," she said during a quiet moment. "Most people can't resist my natural charm, even with dampeners." "Maybe I'm just professional," he smirked. "Or maybe you have secrets of your own." Her eyes flicked to his ring. "That's an interesting piece of jewelry." Nord felt a jolt of recognition. The ring's design. Could it be connected to her family? The memory of that childhood encounter flashed through his mind. The blue-skinned girl, the magnificent estate, her parents. "Something on your mind?" Luna's voice brought him back to the present. "Just focusing on keeping you safe." She stepped closer, her scent like exotic flowers. "Are you sure that's all you're focusing on?" The ring pulsed a warning. But Nord was already learning to navigate the fine line between maintaining professional distance and building the trust needed for this mission. Besides, something about her seemed hauntingly familiar, stirring memories he tried to forget. "Tell me," she said, running a finger along the restraint on her right wrist. "Have you ever been to the Caldwell estate?" Nord's heart skipped a beat, but years of training kept his expression neutral. "Can't say that I have." She gave him a look that suggested she didn't quite believe him. "Shame. It's quite magical." His ring flared again, and this time the possibility paths it showed were completely new, branching into territories he'd never seen before. Something told him this mission would be unlike anything he'd ever experienced, and he wasn't entirely sure if that was a good thing. The private transport glided through the neon-lit skyways of New Shanghai, its tinted windows reflecting the kaleidoscope of colors from surrounding skyscrapers. Luna sat across from Nord, those shadow-forged restraints resting heavily in her lap. "So tell me about yourself, mysterious protector," she purred, crossing her legs. The movement was deliberately graceful. "What makes a man immune to my charm, Arms?" Nord's ring flickered with potential responses. He chose carefully. "Experience teaches control." "Does it now?" Her lips curved upward. "And what kind of experiences are we talking about?" Before he could respond, the transport lurched. "Only to show." Nord's enhanced armor instantly stiffened, ready for action. But it was just turbulence from a passing cargo ship. Luna had been thrown forward slightly, and Nord caught her instinctively. The contact sent another wave of that strange energy through him. But this time he noticed something else. A familiar resonance, like an echo from his past. "My hero," she teased, but didn't immediately pull away. "These restraints make balance challenging." "Why are you wearing them?" Nord asked, helping her back to her seat. Her playful expression faltered for a moment. "Let's just say some people find my natural abilities concerning, especially during delicate negotiations." "The same abilities that affect others' emotions?" "Oh, that's just the surface." Luna leaned forward, lowering her voice conspiratorially. "Without these, I could do things that would make your head spin. Teleportation, energy manipulation, maybe even a little time distortion." Nord's ring pulsed rapidly. The mention of teleportation triggered another flash of memory, that childhood moment of sudden displacement, finding himself in that magnificent estate. "You don't believe me?" Luna challenged, noticing his thoughtful expression. "I believe there's more to you than meets the eye," she laughed. "Diplomatic answer, but you're right. There's always more." Her eyes narrowed playfully. "Just like there's more to you than this professional facade, that ring, for instance." Nord unconsciously touched the artifact. "Just a lucky charm, really." Luna shifted closer despite the weight of her restraints. "Because it looks remarkably like something my father once crafted. A special order for a special guest." The ring warmed against his skin, and the probability paths it showed began to twist in unexpected ways. Luna's proximity was affecting its predictions, creating patterns he'd never seen before. "Your father makes jewelry?" He kept his tone casual. "Among other things, he's quite the artisan, especially when it comes to items with unique properties." She reached for his hand, but Nord smoothly stood up, moving to check the transport's navigation system. Luna's laugh followed him, avoiding contact now after that bold embrace at the spaceport. Professional assessment of the situation required it then and now. The ring showed him multiple futures branching out from this moment. In some, he maintained his distance. In others, "Now we're approaching your hotel," he deflected, "and security should be our priority." "Always so focused on duty," Luna sighed dramatically. "But tell me, Nord, when you dream about blue-skinned girls, are you always this professional?" His head snapped toward her. The ring burned hot against his finger. Luna's smile was triumphant. "Oh yes, I can sense it. Your particular interest. The question is, where did it come from?" Quote. The transport began its descent toward the hotel's private landing pad, but Nord barely noticed. His mind was racing with implications. Could she know about that childhood encounter? Was she? "We're here," he announced, pushing the thoughts aside. "Professional now. Questions later." "So we are." Luna rose gracefully, despite her restraints. As she passed him, she whispered, "Don't worry, Nord. We have plenty of time to unravel each other's mysteries." The ring pulsed one final time, showing him a glimpse of intertwined destinies. This mission, he realized, was going to test more than just his professional boundaries. It was going to test everything he thought he knew about his past, his present, and his future. The Celestial Dragon Hotel rose like a twisted crystal spire into the neon-stained clouds, its surface reflecting the city's endless light show as Nord guided Luna through the private entrance. His armor constantly adjusted beneath his clothes, responding to every subtle movement around them. "All this security for little old me," Luna mused, watching the hotel's automated defense system scan them, though I suppose these aren't just for show. The negotiations tomorrow are sensitive, Nord replied, guiding her toward the private elevator. His ring was constantly active now, processing countless possibilities with her so close. Sensitive is an understatement. Luna's playful tone dropped for a moment. 3-star systems' peace depends on them, and someone very much wants them to fail. Whoa! The elevator doors closed with a soft hiss. Luna immediately leaned against the wall, the weight of her restraints finally showing in her posture. They're getting heavier, aren't they? Nord observed. Notice that, did you? She managed to smile, but strain showed in her eyes. They adapt. The longer they're worn, the more they restrict. Nord's ring flared with warning as she suddenly stumbled. He caught her again, and this time the contact was different. Through his armor, he felt a pulse of energy, familiar, like that day in the estate years ago. Sorry, she breathed, steadying herself against his chest. Usually, I can manage better, but when was the last time you slept? Sleep? What's that? She attempted humor, but Nord saw through it. The elevator opened to the penthouse floor. Nord kept a supporting arm around her waist as they walked to her suite. His ring showed multiple threat possibilities, but none immediate. Home sweet home, Luna declared as they entered the luxurious apartment, at least for the next few days. She moved to a plush chair and practically collapsed into it. Gods, these things are killing me. Nord studied her more carefully now. Behind the flirtatious facade and noble bearing, exhaustion was clearly taking its toll. You're not just wearing these for the negotiations, are you? He asked quietly. Luna's eyes met his, and for a moment her mask slipped completely. Very perceptive. No, I'm not. They were forced on me. Precaution, they said, to ensure my cooperation. Who's they? Wouldn't you like to know? The playful tone returned, but didn't reach her eyes. Maybe I'll tell you if you tell me about that interesting ring of yours. Nord's ring pulsed, showing mixed outcomes for various responses, but before he could choose one, a soft chime indicated someone at the door. Room service, a voice called. Nord's ring instantly flashed danger signals. He moved swiftly, positioning himself between Luna and the door. I didn't order anything, Luna said softly, suddenly alert despite her fatigue. Nord's armor shifted beneath his clothes, preparing for combat. Stay behind me. My hero, again she whispered, but this time without any teasing. Though if I didn't have these on, I could handle this myself. The chime sounded again. Room service. More insistent now. Nord's ring showed him multiple paths, most ending in violence. But one showed a different possibility. He made his decision. Play along, Nord whispered, moving towards the door. His ring pulsed steadily, guiding his timing. Coming, he called out, pitching his voice to sound casual. Luna caught on immediately. Darling, who ordered champagne? She called, her voice perfectly portraying a relaxed socialite despite her exhaustion. The moment Nord opened the door, his enhanced armor detected the micro-movements of weapons being drawn. 3 servers stood there, their uniforms slightly too stiff over concealed body armor. His ring flared with the optimal path. Nord moved before they could react, grabbing the serving cart and ramming it into the first attacker. His armor instantly hardened around his fist as he drove it into the second man's solar plexus. The third pulled a sonic disruptor, but Nord was already moving, his armor adapting to absorb the incoming blast. Duck! Luna shouted. Nord dropped instinctively. A serving tray whistled over his head, striking the third attacker with surprising force. Despite Luna's restrained state, she'd managed to kick it off the fallen cart with remarkable accuracy. Not completely helpless after all, she winked, though the effort left her visibly drained. More footsteps thundered down the hallway. Now, Nord's ring showed him they had exactly 12 seconds before reinforcements arrived. Time to go, he said quickly, checking the downed attacker's professional gear. High-end weapons. This wasn't a random attempt. My hero's full of surprises, Luna commented as Nord helped her up. That was some impressive protection detail work. Less talking, more moving, he guided her toward the emergency exit, supporting her weight as the restraints seemed to grow heavier with each step. Wait, she gasped, stumbling again. I can't. These things are reacting to the danger. They're getting stronger. Nord's ring pulsed urgently. 8 seconds. He made another quick decision and swept Luna into his arms. His armor compensated for the immense weight of the restraints, though even with its enhancement, he felt the strain. My! Luna managed through gritted teeth. Buying me dinner first would have been nice. You never stop, do you? Nord pushed through the emergency door just as shouts erupted behind them. Part of my charm, she whispered, her head resting against his shoulder. Speaking of which, you're still impressively resistant to my natural allure even this close. 5 seconds. Nord started down the emergency stairs, his armor working overtime to maintain their pace. Maybe I'm just focused on keeping us alive. Or maybe. Luna's voice grew softer, fighting against obvious pain. You've encountered something like it before, perhaps in a certain estate years ago? Nord nearly missed a step. His ring blazed with possibilities, confirmations, warnings. 3 seconds. Now isn't the time, he said firmly, though his mind raced with implications. Time? Luna laughed weakly. Time is a funny thing. Like how a little blue-skinned girl once pulled a strange boy through it. The door above them burst open. Orders were shouted, weapons charged. 1 second. Hold tight, Nord commanded, his armor shifting to maximum protection mode. Just like old times, Luna whispered. And then everything exploded into chaos. Through the chaos of gunfire and explosions, Nord's ring guided him to the perfect path. Quite literally. His armor redistributed its mass, allowing him to leap over the stairwell railing, using the architectural supports as stepping stones in their descent. Impressive, Luna murmured against his neck. The armor adapts beautifully, almost like it was made for you. Another explosion rocked the building. Clace. Nord's ring pulsed a warning, showing him the next safe landing point. Less analyzing, more surviving, he replied, though her words struck uncomfortably close to his suspicions. The armor had always seemed to understand his needs, almost as if... Watch out! Luna's warning snapped him back to focus. A security drone buzzed up through the stairwell, weapons charging. Hold on tight! Nord twisted mid-air, his armor shifting to protect them both as he kicked off the wall. The drone's shots missed by millimeters, leaving scorch marks on the metal where they had been a split second before. You know, Luna managed through gritted teeth, her restraints growing visibly heavier with each passing moment. Most men wait until at least the third date for this kind of excitement. Is that what this is? A date? Nord landed on another platform, his armor absorbing the impact. Well, let's see, Luna counted off, despite their precarious situation. Dinner was interrupted. You've swept me off my feet. Literally. And we're having a lovely moonlit chase, though I usually prefer to do the chasing. More footsteps above them. Nord's ring showed 2 possible escape routes. The obvious one through the ground floor would be heavily guarded. The other? How do you feel about maintenance tunnels? He asked, spotting a service door 3 floors down. Darling, I'll follow you anywhere. Her attempt at flirtation was undermined by a sudden gasp of pain. The restraints were definitely tightening. Nord's ring pulsed urgently. They had maybe minutes before the restraints completely incapacitated her. He needed to think fast. Those cuffs, he said, making another controlled leap downward. They're reacting to threat levels. Clever boy. Luna's voice was strained, but she managed a small smile. They're programmed to increase restriction when I might use my abilities, and right now they think I'm about to teleport us both to safety. Can you? Normally, in my sleep, right now. She lifted her wrist slightly, the movement clearly taking enormous effort. I can barely lift these things. They reached the service door. Nord's armor enhanced his strength enough to pry it open one-handed while still carrying Luna. The tunnel beyond was dark and cramped, but his ring showed it as their best option. I have to put you down, he warned. Can you walk? For you? I'll manage. He set her down gently, keeping one arm around her waist for support. Even through his armor, he could feel the energy emanating from her. Weaker now, but still remarkably similar to what he'd experienced years ago in that strange estate. Nord, Luna's voice was suddenly serious as they made their way through the darkness. Why did you really take this contract? His ring warmed against his finger, showing multiple conversation paths. But before he could choose one, a deep rumble shook the tunnel. They're sealing the exits, Luna realized. Rather kill us both than let me reach those negotiations. Nord's ring blazed with urgent warning. They had less than a minute before being trapped. Luna, he said quickly, do you trust me? She laughed softly. A man I just met who's surprisingly immune to my charms, has incredible combat skills, and wears armor that seems oddly familiar? She met his eyes in the darkness. Strangely enough, I do. Nord's ring showed him one last path, risky, but with the highest probability of success. Then hold on tight, he said, pulling her close as his armor began to shift in ways he'd never seen before. And remember, you asked for excitement. Luna's smile was visible even in the dim light. Just like that day in the estate, right? This time, Nord didn't deny it. Instead, he activated something in his armor that he'd never dared to before, and the world around them transformed into brilliant light. The brilliant light coalesced into a sphere of energy around them, as Nord's armor responded to some deeply buried programming. His ring burned hot against his finger, showing him possibilities he'd never seen before, as if Luna's presence was unlocking new pathways. Oh my, Luna breathed, watching the energy field expand. That's definitely Father's work. The signature is unmistakable. The tunnel behind them collapsed with a thunderous roar, but the energy field held steady. Nord felt his armor shifting, pieces realigning in impossible ways, responding to Luna's proximity. Your father? Nord said finally, voicing what he'd suspected. Rain Caldwell. He gave me this armor after my little temporal mishap brought you to our estate. Luna's smile was knowing despite her evident exhaustion. I wondered when you'd admit it. Another explosion rocked the tunnel ahead of them. The energy field rippled but remained intact. You knew the whole time? Let's just say. Luna shifted closer, the movement clearly painful with her restraints. That little girl never quite forgot the boy she accidentally kidnapped through time and space. Nord's ring pulsed urgently. They had mere moments before the entire tunnel system would be compromised. The armor was offering him options he'd never known existed, but they all required. You need to trust me too, Luna said, as if reading his thoughts. Those memories you have of that day, they're real, and this armor, it was designed to work with my energy signature. That's why it's responding differently now, Nord realized. His ring confirmed the possibility. Quick learner, Luna managed a playful wink despite her obvious pain. Now these restraints are killing me, and we're about to be crushed. Troshed. Any bright ideas? The ring showed him one path. Dangerous. Nearly impossible. But with the highest probability of success. The armor needs your energy to activate its full potential, he said, pieces clicking into place. And you need these restraints off. Brilliant deduction, but they're designed to be impenetrable by normal means. Nord pulled her closer, his armor humming in response. But what about the same energy signature? They were crafted to contain. Luna's eyes widened with understanding. The feedback loop. It could work. But, Nord nodded. Her expression grew serious. If we try this and fail, another explosion, closer this time. The energy field flickered. We'll be crushed, he finished for her. Actually, we'll be scattered across several dimensions. Much messier. Nord's ring pulsed one final warning. It was now. Now or never. Touch me. I dare you. He quoted her earlier challenge, managing a slight smile. Luna laughed, despite everything. Using my own words against me? That's just unfair. She pressed closer, her blue skin seeming to glow within the energy field. But since you asked so nicely. The armor responded to her proximity, panels shifting to create contact points. The ring blazed with possibility as their energy signatures began to align. Ready? Nord asked, though his ring was already showing him the outcome. Darling, Luna smiled, her eyes beginning to glow with power. I've been ready since that day in the estate. The world around them erupted into pure energy as past and present collided in a spectacular display of light and power. The surge of power was unlike anything Nord had ever experienced. His armor resonated with Luna's energy, creating a feedback loop that made his ring pulse with blinding intensity. The Shadowforge restraints began to vibrate, their ancient metal struggling against the combined frequencies. Well, Luna gasped, her body pressed against his in the swirling energy field. This is certainly more intimate than our first meeting. You mean when you kidnapped me? Nude as death. Nord adjusted his grip, supporting her as the restraints fought against their efforts. I prefer the term temporarily borrowed. She managed a breathless laugh. Besides, you got some lovely parting gifts. The restraint's vibration reached a fever pitch. Luna's natural energy, even suppressed, was intoxicating at this proximity. Nord's ring showed him dozens of branching possibilities, most of them ending in catastrophe, but one path glowed brighter than the others. Luna! He said urgently. I need you to focus on that day, the exact moment you pulled me through. Her eyes met his, understanding flickering in their depths. Trying to recreate the resonance? Clever boy. She pressed closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. I remember being fascinated by a human boy in the market. The way you looked at the stellar maps with such wonder. The armor's energy field pulsed in sync with her words. The restraint's resistance began to waver. You grabbed my hand, Nord continued, memories crystallizing. Said you wanted to show me something amazing? And you weren't afraid. Luna's voice held a note of wonder. Even when reality shifted around us. The restraints cracked, hairline fractures appearing in their ancient surface. Luna gasped as her power began to seep through. True. Your parents weren't even angry, Nord remembered. Your mother just laughed, and father said you had an interesting destiny. Luna's eyes blazed brighter. That's why he gave you the gifts. He saw the restraint shatter with a thunderous crack. Luna's full power rushed out like a tidal wave, merging with the armor's energy field. Nord's ring blazed with confirmation. They had seconds to act before the tunnel collapsed completely. Luna flexed her newly freed wrists, her natural grace returning instantly. Much better. She wrapped her arms around Nord's neck, her skin glowing with restored power. Now, shall we recreate that little temporal trick? You mean, the one that started all this? Oh no, darling. Her smile was radiant as reality began to bend around them. This time I know exactly what I'm doing. The tunnel imploded behind them as Luna's power enveloped them both. Nord's armor responded automatically, integrating with her energy signature. His ring showed them one perfect path through the chaos. Hold tight, Luna whispered against his ear, and try not to fall in love with me. Too late for that warning, Nord replied before he could stop himself. Luna's delighted laugh echoed through the dimension as they vanished in a flash of brilliant light, leaving their pursuers with nothing but empty air and scattered fragments of shadow-forged restraints. Through the swirling vortex of space and time, Nord's ring pulsed steadily, showing him a future he'd never dared to imagine. One where that chance encounter years ago had been anything but random. By the way, Luna's voice drifted through the temporal stream. Mother will be delighted to see you again. She always said you'd grow up handsome. The world rematerialized around them in a cascade of shimmering energy. Nord's armor hummed as it adjusted to their new surroundings. An opulent safe house hidden in the upper levels of New Shanghai's diplomatic district. The room's auto systems activated. Soft, ambient lighting revealing plush furnishings and state-of-the-art security measures. Home sweet temporary home, Luna announced, still in Nord's arms. Her newly freed power radiated through the room like a warm breeze. Mother always insisted on maintaining proper bolt holes in every major city. Practical woman, Nord observed, his ring confirming they were secure for the moment. You have no idea. Luna made no immediate move to leave his embrace. Though I must say, your armor's energy signature feels different now, more attuned. Because of your power? Because of us. She traced a finger along one of the armor's seam lines, sending small sparks of energy dancing across its surface. It was designed to respond to connection, emotional as well as physical. Nord's ring pulsed in agreement, showing him new possibilities that made his heart rate spike. Luna clearly noticed his reaction, a knowing smile playing across her lips. Nervous, darling? Professional concern, he managed, though they both knew it was more than that, of course. She finally slipped from his arms, moving with restored grace to a nearby console. Just like it was professional to hold me so close during our little dimensional jump? That was necessary for safe transport. She glanced over her shoulder, her blue skin practically glowing in the soft light. Keep telling yourself that. Before Nord could respond, his armor suddenly shifted, panels realigning themselves into a more streamlined configuration. Ah, there it is, Luna observed with satisfaction. Father's upgrades are finally activating. The armor's true form, meant to complement my abilities. Your father planned this. He sees possibilities like your ring shows you. She approached again, her movement deliberately sensual. Some more interesting than others. Nord's ring warmed against his finger, displaying future paths that made him catch his breath. Luna stopped just inches away, her energy field interacting with his armor in ways that sent shivers down his spine. Speaking of interesting possibilities, she practically purred. Now that those awful restraints are gone, perhaps we should discuss why you really took this contract. The official reason still stands. The negotiations are tomorrow, she interrupted. And we both know that's not what I meant. Her hand came to rest over his heart, where the armor seemed to pulse in response. Oh. Why did you accept a mission to protect someone you knew could affect you so personally? Nord's ring showed him multiple ways this conversation could go, but for once he ignored its guidance and spoke from the heart. Because for years I've dreamed of blue skin and impossible magic, of a moment when reality shifted and everything I knew changed. He caught her hand against his chest. Because when I heard the name Caldwell, I had to know if it was real. If you were real. Luna's breath hitched, her composed facade cracking slightly. And now that you know? Now? Nord let his free hand trace the curve of her cheek, marveling at how his armor enhanced rather than muted the sensation. Now I'm wondering if your mother was right about more than just how I'd look grown up. Luna's laugh was soft and genuine, not her usual practiced sound. Oh, she was right about many things. She pressed closer, her power wrapping around them both like a warm embrace, including how this particular possibility would play out. Now. Nord's ring blazed with confirmation as Luna closed the final distance between them, and for the first time since that day in the estate, he stopped analyzing probabilities and simply let himself feel. The kiss was electric. Literally. Luna's natural energy merged with his armor's field, creating sparks that danced across their skin. Nord's ring pulsed rapidly, showing dozens of branching futures, all converging on this moment. Luna pulled back first, her eyes glowing with both power and amusement. Well, that was inevitable, Nord suggested, his armor still humming from the contact. I was going to say about time. She traced a pattern on his chest plate, leaving trails of luminescent energy. Though we should probably focus on the multiple assassination attempts before getting too distracted. As if on cue, the safe house's security system chimed a proximity warning. Nord's ring flashed danger signals. They weren't as safe as they'd thought. Speaking of distractions, Luna sighed reluctantly, stepping back. It seems our friends are persistent. Nord's armor shifted back to combat mode, though it maintained the new configurations Luna's presence had awakened. They're tracking your energy signature, clever boy. She moved to a wall panel, revealing a hidden arsenal. Now that these restraints are off, I'm rather noticeable to certain sensors. Can you mask it? I could. She selected what looked like a small energy pistol, handling it with practiced ease. But where's the fun in that? Nord's ring showed him multiple tactical options, but they all relied on something he wasn't sure Luna would agree to. We need to work together. Your power, my armor, synchronized. Her smile turned predatory. Now you're thinking like a Caldwell. The security system registered multiple hostiles converging on their location. Luna's energy field expanded, reaching out to mesh with Nord's armor in a way that sent shivers down his spine. Ready to show them why messing with a Caldwell is a terrible idea? She moved to his side, their energies already falling into perfect rhythm. Nord's ring pulsed with approval as he reached for her hand. Lead the way, partner! Luna's delighted laugh echoed through the room as the first explosions rocked the building. Home. Oh, darling, this is going to be so much fun. And as their attackers breached the perimeter, Nord realized that fun might be an understatement. With Luna's power flowing through his enhanced armor, every possibility his ring showed him was more incredible than the last. The night was far from over, and somehow he knew their story was just beginning. The safe house erupted into chaos as the first wave of attackers breached the outer defenses. But this time Nord and Luna were ready. Their combined powers transformed the battlefield into a dance of light and energy. Left! Luna called out, her power surging through Nord's armor as he spun to intercept a neural disruptor blast. The armor absorbed the energy, channeling it back through his systems. They're not just assassins, Nord observed, his ring showing him patterns in their attackers' movements. These are military-trained operatives. Luna pirouetted around him, her energy blast taking out 3 attackers in one elegant sweep. Someone really doesn't want those peace negotiations to succeed. Their movements flowed together naturally, as if they'd been fighting side by side for years now. Nord's armor responded to Luna's power instinctively, creating shields and energy pathways between them. "You know," Luna said, pressing her back against his as they faced another wave. "Most couples wait until at least the 5th date for synchronized combat. Is that what we are now? A couple?" Nord's ring pulsed warmly as he deflected another attack. Luna's laugh was bright despite the chaos. "Darling, we've been cosmic destiny since the day I kidnapped you. Now shall we show them why?" She grabbed his hand, and suddenly their energies merged completely. Nord's armor blazed with power as Luna's abilities flowed through it, creating a devastating wave that swept their remaining attackers off their feet. In the sudden quiet that followed, Luna turned to face him, her eyes still glowing with power and excitement. "Well, that was invigorating." "The mission's not over," Nord reminded her, though he couldn't help smiling. "We still have peace negotiations to protect tomorrow." "True." Luna stepped closer, her energy field mingling with his armor's. "But we have all night to prepare, and I think we've proven we make an excellent team." Nord's ring showed him countless future possibilities, all of them brighter than any he'd seen before. "Your father knew this would happen, didn't he, when he gave me the armor?" Father sees possibilities." Luna traced the glowing patterns on his armor. "But we make our own choices, and I'd say we've chosen rather well, wouldn't you?" Quote. Before Nord could respond, his armor suddenly hummed with a new frequency. A hidden compartment opened, revealing a small data crystal. "Oh, clever father," Luna breathed, recognizing the technology. "A message waiting for exactly this moment." A crystal projected a hologram of Rain Caldwell, looking exactly as Nord remembered him. "If you're seeing this," the message began, "then the armor has achieved its true potential. Luna, my dear, I trust you finally found your wayward temporal visitor. And Nord, welcome to the family. Officially this time." Luna's hand found his as they watched the message continue. "There are forces moving against the peace of our worlds," Rain's hologram explained. "Forces that fear the union of human ingenuity and Caldwell power. You two represent everything they fear and everything we hope for." The message ended with coordinates and a smile. "The real mission begins now. Together you're unstoppable. Try not to have too much fun proving it." As the hologram faded, Luna turned to Nord with a sparkle in her eyes. "Well, partner, ready for a real adventure?" Nord's ring pulsed with confirmation as he pulled her close. "Close with you. Always." There. Their kiss sparked new patterns of energy through the room, his armor harmonizing perfectly with her power. Tomorrow would bring challenges. Peace negotiations to protect, conspiracies to unravel, and apparently a much bigger mission to undertake. But for now, in this moment, Nord finally understood what his ring had been trying to show him all along. Some possibilities were worth waiting for, some destinies were written in the stars, and some love stories began with a little girl pulling a boy through time just to see him smile. Luna broke the kiss with a playful grin. "So about those coordinates after the negotiations?" Nord said firmly, though his smile matched hers. "Spoil sport." She nestled closer, her energy wrapping around them both. "But I suppose we have time. All the time in the world," he agreed, his ring showing him their shared future unfolding like a brilliant constellation of possibilities. And this time, he couldn't wait to explore every single one. Well, that was quite a ride with Nord and Luna, wasn't it? And yes, you caught that right. Those Caldwells seem to pop up in interesting places. If you enjoyed this little romp through space-time and questionably professional bodyguard services, you might have noticed them from another tale. Though I must say, Luna certainly took the family's flair for dramatic entrances to a whole new level. You know, there's something deeply satisfying about watching a strictly professional protagonist completely lose his cool over a blue-skinned woman who once kidnapped him through time. And let's be honest, those Shadowforge restraints never stood a chance against the power of, let's call it destiny, and some very convenient armor upgrades. I particularly enjoyed writing Luna's endless supply of flirtatious quips in the face of mortal danger. Because really, what's a little assassination attempt between future lovers? I hope you had as much fun with these two as I did. There's something special about a love story that starts with childhood temporal kidnapping and ends with synchronized combat and conspiracy unraveling. It's not every day you get to see a romance bloom over exploding safe houses and dimensional jumps. If you're wondering about those coordinates Rain left them, well, that's another story for another time. Though knowing the Caldwells, it probably involves more impossible physics and questionable flirting decisions. Until our next adventure through the cosmos. And for the first time since that day in the estate, he stopped analyzing probabilities and simply let himself feel. The kiss was electric, literally. Luna's natural energy merged with his armor's field, creating sparks that danced across their skin. Nord's ring pulsed rapidly, showing dozens of branching futures, all converging on this moment. Luna pulled back first, her eyes glowing with both power and amusement. Well, that was inevitable, Nord suggested, his armor still humming from the contact. I was going to say about time. Quote, dot. She traced a pattern on his chest plate, leaving trails of luminescent energy, though we should probably focus on the multiple assassination attempts before getting too distracted. Quote, dot. As if on cue, the safe house's security system chimed a proximity warning. Nord's ring flashed danger signals. They weren't as safe as they'd thought. Quote, dot. Speaking of distractions, Luna sighed reluctantly, stepping back. It seems our friends are persistent. Quote, dot. Nord's armor shifted back to combat mode, though it maintained the new configurations Luna's presence had awakened. They're tracking your energy signature. Clever boy. She moved to a wall panel, revealing a hidden arsenal. Now that these restraints are off, I'm rather noticeable to certain sensors. Can you mask it? I could. Quote, dot. She selected what looked like a small energy pistol, handling it with practiced ease. But where's the fun in that? Nord's ring showed him multiple tactical options, but they all relied on something he wasn't sure Luna would agree to. We need to work together. Your power, my armor, synchronized. Quote, dot. Her smile turned predatory. Now you're thinking like a Caldwell. Quote, dot. The security system registered multiple hostiles converging on their location. Luna's energy field expanded, reaching out to mesh with Nord's armor in a way that sent shivers down his spine. Ready to show them why messing with a Caldwell is a terrible idea? She moved to his side, their energies already falling into perfect rhythm. Nord's ring pulsed with approval as he reached for her hand. Lead the way, partner. Quote, dot. Luna's delighted laugh echoed through the room as the first explosions rocked the building. Oh, darling, this is going to be so much fun. And, as their attackers breached the perimeter, Nord realized that fun might be an understatement. Billy. With Luna's power flowing through his enhanced armor, every possibility his ring showed him was more incredible than the last. The night was far from over, and somehow he knew their story was just beginning.